Super excited to welcome to the show a fabulous musician and musical director and someone that Janet fans know everywhere. Rex Salas, thank you so much for joining us.
You're
Yay!
welcome. How you doing?
We are so excited to have you, and I feel so honored because this is the first time that you and Tina, as we're recording this, have actually seen each other in about 20 years, right, T?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. Crazy. So we have so many things to get to. I will start though, Rex, just by asking, just so that the fans kind of get a barometer of where you started. How did your music career kick off, and what do you consider your big break?
Um, it kicked off when I was about 17. I was auditioning for Patty Austin and Quincy Jones, and I made an audition. That was my very first audition that I made, and from then on, I just got a taste of the music industry from playing in local bands and stuff. And then when I got through that, I would just go tour to tour to tour until I started giving people songs that I wrote and ended up being a producer also. So that's how it started.
That's crazy.
Now, how did you get approached to, well, actually, I'm going to start by the next one will be, how did you and Tina actually meet? Was it during the Janet tour or was it before that?
Oh,
Rhythm-
it was the Rhythm Nation. Yeah.
Yeah. We go way back.
Okay. So tell us how that started. How did we meet on Rhythm Nation?
Well, I think most of the fans know my story. Obviously, I auditioned for the video, and originally the tour was just supposed to be the four boys, right? Terry, Anthony, Lavelle, and Art. And then while Karen and I, we would do, Janet likes to work out and do dance class kind of as her workout. And we were working with her and just kind of playing along. And Renee came in one day. They would always talk about the tour in front of us, kind of like we were included. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Like they weren't secret, whisper, whisper, or we had to go in another room. And then the next thing he knew, I'm like, Karen and I were confused. We're like, what? Why does he keep talking to us like that? And then he looked at Janet and he goes, you didn't tell him. I'm like, shut up, Renee. Because he was always messing with us, always being a smart aleck. And he's like, no, for real. We want you guys to come on the tour. And that was like in a random rehearsal, like just crazy. And, I literally, I didn't tell my parents, I didn't tell anybody for like 2 months because I thought he was joking. I thought he was just being mean and Janet was going along with it. So I don't think I told anyone until right before we were getting ready to start. And I don't know when you and I met, Rex, probably I'm thinking not until you guys were in rehearsal, right?
Yeah, rehearsal. Pretty much the first time I'd seen you.
So how did you come on board? Because I know that for Rhythm Nation, it was Chucky Booker who was the musical director, and you played, right?
Yeah, what happened with me, I actually met Janet in the studio. I was working with Leon Silvers.
Oh.
He was working with Foster at the time. So this was way back. Or actually, God, even before that, I was in a group called Tease back in the days. And yeah, I met her first at a little one-stop promotional thing. That was the first time I met her because she was walking in, and I actually stopped her to take a picture with her. And I said, will you take a picture? And her guard was pulling her out and wouldn't let her. And she goes, stop. And then she came back, took a picture with me. That was the first time. And then the next time I met her was in the studio when I was with Leon. She was with Foster, and we were both going for a soda at the machine, and she couldn't get a soda out. And I kicked the machine, and the soda came out. And she says, oh, thanks, and she introduced herself. I'm Janet, And I said, yeah, my name's Rex. And I asked her, were you in with Foster? And she said, yeah, I'm over here with Leon. And that was the first time. But really, if it weren't for Chucky kind of putting it together, because Chucky got called to do the Rhythm Nation tour, who, excellent. He's always been he was my best friend. He was we both did so much together musically. He kind of came up in the industry, and Chucky had gotten the Rhythm Nation tour.
Okay.
And he didn't tell me, but he knew, like I had been doing a lot of tours previous to that. And Chucky wanted the best for her because she was like, you know, I really want this. She had Teddy Riley in mind. She had a guy named Brian Loren to do her tour, and she ended up picking Chucky. And it was one day he asked me to go to a party at Vertigo's in LA.
Right.
And I went with him, and he was like, I got to tell you something when we get there. So we go there, and there's this big Rhythm Nation party, or it was actually, I don't know what it was, but it was Janet and all these celebrities in there and everything. And I'm like, what am I doing here? And I just enjoyed myself. And then when we were leaving, he tells me, hey, I got the musical director position, and I want you to assist me with the tour. So I said, oh, sure, you know, definitely. And that's how, that's actually how I met, you know, started really working with her. Yeah.
That is so cool.
That's an amazing, that's so awesome. I did not know that's how you started with her, Rex. So that's like super amazing. And so talk to us a little bit about just the Rhythm Nation tour, like being on that tour and you know, what it was like, and you know, working with the dancers too, even though I know like both of you at that point were not management positions, if you will, but what was that like?
We were just little players, right? Like, you go, Rex.
Well, you know, all I remember was, you know, Renee was really nervous about it because he wanted it to be spectacular.
Right.
And Janet was kind of learning, just waiting around, listening and learning from people. And everybody really played a big role with her. I mean, Tina was great. Even Chucky, they kind of just held her hand to try to get, you know, comfortable with really her live performing, because a lot of people don't know she's kind of shy. She's shy, but when she's on the stage, she's a different person.
Right.
But that shyness really comes out, and it's just I feel it's a fear that she doesn't feel like, oh, you know, I'm you know, I don't know what it is. It's almost like a fear that I'm not going to put out. Like,
right. Well,
yeah.
then because she was still, you know, that was like Rhythm Nation just really blew up for her. So, I mean, she still has a shyness about her now, but not anything compared to when we started.
Yeah, back then.
Yeah.
And that was the thing too. I know with her singing, she was really, you know, conscious. She would actually be afraid, you know, to get on that mic, and we had to get her, you know, so she can belch, and because this band was loud, so we had to get her up there. But one thing that Luther Vandross told her, who's a good friend of hers, he told her that she can sing. He was telling her, you know, quit worrying about it. You can sing. And I used to tell her, you know, you just don't realize that you're so much better than you think, you know. And I was working with her one-on-one because I was helping her with a lot of the vocals in the arrangements that Chucky would make. Chucky would make an arrangement, and then I'd be on the side trying to help her to, you know, figure out how she should sing this, or how, you know, she wanted to approach this. And she always wanted to make it just a little bit different than the record. So that was the challenge, you know. And then going to Tina and then figuring out how she can dance to that vocal, which is amazing to me for singers that can really dance, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
that I mean, I would see it in Michael, and you could just tell that those genes were right there. I mean, she had those same genes, because I was like, wow, it's like effortless. And I've worked with artists where it's like they have to stop and sing, and then they'll do a little move, and then they'll, you know, and it's tough.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Now, when you guys were on the tour, did you find over time, like on the Rhythm Nation tour, that she started to come into her own, Rex? Like, because I know you mentioned she was like extremely shy, and we know this too, like you've said that before. Did she really start to come into her own as the tour was going on?
Yeah. And you know what? I really feel it was the things that were bad that were happening that made her come into her own. Like if a pyro would go off on the wrong time, or something like we had a black cat come out. They were doing Black Cat, and there was a black cat that came out, and she would get in the cage with the cat to get used to it, because there would be a time where they'd put her in with the cage, and the cat would disappear, and it'd be Janet. So she had to get used to that cat, so it wouldn't bite her, you know. So she got in that cage. But one time they were dancing around the cat, because they spin it around, and it started peeing all over the stage.
It was
the dancers were sliding all over the place. It was hilarious.
And see, Rex is back there behind keyboard, so he has the front row seat, and we're all like, that cat didn't last very long, trust me. And it was a beautiful, what was it? Was it a panther?
Yeah, it was a black panther.
Yeah, we had it for like, I don't really remember rehearsing with it, but you know, it was a magic trick where she got in one side, but the cat was really on the other, and then they threw something over it, spun the cage, and then the cat was gone, and there was Janet. But I swear it couldn't have been more than 2 or 3 shows before that cat started all over the stage.
It was gone.
Yeah, thank you. We have your picture and resume. You are cut.
That's so funny, because as fans, I had heard about the cat, but I didn't know it was a staple that was supposed to be there throughout the tour. So that, okay.
Yeah, it didn't make the cut.
Okay.